People sometimes just make me mad. They make me angry. So about almost 2 weeks ago now, I was leaving here, driving home. We live out in Argyle, so I was going west down 407. And you know, the intersection at 1830, where the road closes down from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, do you know the section I'm talking about? Well, if you go that way commonly, you know that people commonly use the right-hand lane, which is a turn only to go up to Denton Lane. They use that lane to speed up and get past a few cars, and then they cut back in to the left lane that goes straight onto Argyle. It's infuriating. It happens all the time. And we kind of have learned to be prepared for it. But a couple, 2 weeks ago-ish, I'm on the phone driving. I'm talking to my dermatologist, and I don't really exactly remember what I said. I might, as Charlie often says, I might have used all God's words when I realized that we were going from 50 miles an hour to 0. And all I remember is the lady on the other phone, on the other end saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I finally got it together enough to say, yes, I stopped. I stopped inches away from the car in front of me. But the several cars in front of that were not so lucky. So I get out of my car and I go up to the car in front of me, and there were like airbags everywhere. Like I couldn't even see that there was a driver in there. So I'm pulling the airbags and I'm saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And there's this precious little 20-year-old girl who's never been in a car wreck before, and she's saying to me, "I can't breathe." She couldn't breathe. And I felt so angry at that moment because I knew exactly what had just happened, and I knew that the person who caused all this chaos was halfway to Argyle by now, and they had gotten a few cars ahead in traffic. The woman in front of her had 3 littles in car seats in the back. They were all crying. Their cars were totaled, absolutely totaled, and they were going to have now weeks, if not months, of headache dealing with insurance, shopping for new cars. All the while, the jerk who caused this is on their way. It just makes me angry. And I was not wrong to be angry about that. But if I'm honest with you, I have a lot of anger that doesn't necessarily fit in the righteous category. No, I think it probably fits in the unrighteous category. I think that everybody has a vice, and mine is definitely anger. Not the erupting volcano, spew it everywhere kind, but the simmering, boiling, try to shove it down kind of anger. And I come from angry people for generations. I think I was probably well-versed in the language of anger before I could say my ABCs. Anger is in my blood, and I choose it. So this summer, we've been talking about Proverbs and the wisdom of God of how to live the best life that God intends for us. Today, we're going to take a look at Proverbs and what Proverbs has to say to us about anger. And so we're going to do, as we always do at the beginning of every service, we're going to stop down now, and we're going to pray and ask God to open our eyes, open our ears to the things that He has for us this morning. We always want to say that we remember that the move of the Spirit is inward to conviction and not outward to critique. I want to give you just a moment to pray silently and ask God to be with you this morning. Jesus, thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning to talk about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, something that you have worked a deep, deep work in my life, because you are indeed good. You are merciful, kind, and compassionate and gracious, and that you are slow to anger. Help us, Lord, to be like you. It's in your name we pray. Amen. I don't think I have to convince you that we are an angry people. We are all very angry. We are living in a culture of angry people that are getting more and more angry. So I don't think I have to prove it to you. I think you know that it's true. You feel it. You experience it all the time. I'd like to offer up 6 reasons why I think culturally we're becoming more and more angry. And the first one is we live in a constant outrage culture. We're bombarded by headlines, tweets, and videos that are made to provoke us to anger. Nick told us last week that if you guys are like the average American, you spend probably about 3 hours a day on some sort of media, some sort of news media or social media. And do you guys know that in 2017, NYU did a study that said that we naturally will, using Twitter, the study was about Twitter, we will retweet at about 20% things that are emotionally charged and angry, more than any other. But thanks to our good friends at Meta and Facebook, they're always out looking for our good, aren't they? Do you know that they actually repost things that get angry comments 5 times greater than things that gets likes? They are training us to be angry because they know that once we get all worked up and all whipped up inside, we stay engaged longer. We scroll longer. We are being trained to be angry. The second one is emotional overload and mental fatigue. We are exhausted. We take in too much information, more than we can handle. It's overwhelming. And the pace of life that we live in is unsustainable. And when you add anxiety, uncertainty, economic pressure, broken relationships to all that, we're a culture of people who carry too much. We carry too much. And when we're under that kind of pressure, the thing that leaks out of us is anger. The third one is loss of control and powerlessness. When people feel helpless, they often get angry. Last Sunday, we stood here and we prayed for the victims of the flooding in Central Texas. Before last Sunday was even over, we experienced an onslaught of angry comments. It turned to a political fight. Everybody needed somebody to blame for why this had happened. And by Monday morning, we were hearing of people who were being fired from their jobs for the angry comments that they had made. When we don't know how to grieve, we need to blame somebody. It's easier to be angry than it is to be sorrowful and to lament. The fourth thing is isolation and loneliness. Nick talked to us last week about the need for wise community. And he talked about what happens in loneliness. We often find our way into echo chambers, and anger grows in echo chambers. When we are in online communities with people who are only saying the things that we want to hear. We all kind of experienced it in COVID, when we were forced into isolation and loneliness. We saw and witnessed people saying things online that they would have never, ever said face-to-face to somebody. When we become disengaged with others, we find it so easy to dehumanize and to devalue others. Anger just oozes out of us. The fifth one is that we have an identity rooted in conflict. Our world today is very polarized. It doesn't matter the situation, the topic, there is a right side and a wrong side. And people often use anger to prove that they're on the right side. We're known by what we're against, much more so than we're known by what we're for. And we use anger as a way to say, I belong to this group of people. The sixth thing, we have unprocessed pain and unhealed wounds. So many people carry such deep hurts. You know, in the sermon series that we did just before this one, we were talking about a book by Glenn Scrivener called The Air We Breathe. And in that book, he's saying that the values that our culture holds dear are deeply Christian. But in our secular world, what we've tried to do is to divorce Jesus from Jesus's ethics, from his values. We want to keep the values, but we want to lose Jesus. And one of the main points that the author made in the book is when we do that, what we lose, when we lose Jesus, we lose the ability to forgive one another. Jesus is the means of forgiveness. And so societally, when we hurt each other without Jesus, we lose the means of forgiveness. And the way we deal with all of this pain that we lash out and deal on each other is by anger. We cope with all of the pain by being angry at each other. We are an angry people, and we live among angry people. And I'm sure there are more reasons than this as to why we're angry. But we want to look to see what wisdom does Proverbs give us to how to appropriately, to rightly deal with all of the anger that we carry inside of us and that we experience all around us all the time. So we're going to look at 4 different Proverbs this morning. And as opposed to considering the entire verse, what I kind of want to do is just hone in on one word and think about what the one word tells us and helps us to understand about our anger. We're going to first look at Proverbs 14, verses 29. It says, "He who is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a hasty temper exalts folly." And the word that I would like for us to consider today is understanding. We're never going to be slow to anger if we don't have understanding. And we're going to have an awareness of what is going on inside of us. How many of you remember the old TV sitcom Family Matters? You remember that? From back in the day? You remember the dad figure in the story, Carl Winslow, he dealt with stress-related high blood pressure. And so as his healthcare worker was trying to get him to come up with a mantra that he could use to kind of keep things calm and keep it down. And so every time he would start to feel the blood pressure rise and go up, he had this mantra, and they used it in a number of episodes. It kind of became like a mantra actually for the show. Do you remember it, what he would do? He did it very dramatically. He would, right in the middle of frustration, he would stop and say, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, what the heck is bothering me? And he would get to the end of it. If he didn't feel better, he would just launch into it right again. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, what the heck is bothering me? And then he would usually look at the kid and say, you! If we're ever going to get a hold of our anger, we're going to have to know what's bothering us. We're going to have some awareness about what is going on inside of us. I think as we look through the other verses, I think we're going to gain a little more understanding. So I'm going to push pause on this verse for a minute, and let's go to the next one. Proverbs 29:11 says, "A fool gives full vent to his anger, but a wise man quietly holds it back." So we want to look at the word holds it back, the phrase holds it back. What does it mean to hold back our anger? I'm going to see if I can tell you a story as fast as I can about what a fool and an idiot I was in college. So my parents, high value on strong work ethic, paid for my tuition. I had to pay for everything else, all my living expenses, everything. Found a place to live. Early 90s, guys, this was dirt cheap. $70 a month in a trailer park. May not have been my safest choice, that's what I did. And the greatest thing about this thing is it had free water. And for me, you see, for somebody who likes to grow things in the dirt, this was like a gold mine, right? I had flowers and flowers and flowers and flowers and flowers. I had flowering trees and shrubs. I had hanging baskets. I had flowers in the ground. And my neighbor had a tree that dropped leaves on my flowers. Did not make me happy. So one day I got the idea of, got me a tarp, raked up the leaves, drug them across the drive of the trailer park, because on the other side there was like a 1 acre probably lot that was kind of too low of lying land for them to put trailers on it. So I just dragged it over there and dumped it, right? Problem solved. So more leaves fall. Drag more leaves over. More leaves fall. I drag more leaves over. And the manager of the trailer park comes to me and says, you're going to have to burn those leaves. Now, I think you probably can already see where the foolishness of this story is coming in. Guys, I was young. I was dumb. Oh, people watch the local news at 5 o'clock and the weather. Did I mention that I got all the free water that I wanted? I hadn't realized that it hadn't rained in months. And I hadn't watched the news to know that there were thousands of dollars in fines for starting a fire. All I knew was that the man told me I needed to burn the leaves. Guys, I had no idea fire could spread so fast. I mean, I came to a full-on panic when I realized that I was about to burn down the whole trailer park. So I sprint across the driveway. I go to get the doormat at my front door, the rubber mat, and I run back across, and I start like a crazy woman trying to beat the perimeter of the fire. And so every time I'm getting within 10 feet of one trailer, I'm sprinting over to there to beat it out, and then I look, and by the time the fire trucks got there, I mostly had it all actually put out, and they were kind and gracious to me, and realized what an idiot I was, and they didn't give me all the fines. But I will say that I told this story on Thursday to the teaching team, and they wanted to make certain that I did include the little tidbit of information that I did make the front page of the paper the next day. You know, anger is like a fire. When you put it in the fireplace, it brings light and warmth. And when it's out of control, it burns everything down. Wisdom says, know how to hold it. Be mindful of the weather, of the condition of the ground before you build a fire. Hold it back, hold it in. I have a friend who, in their household, if somebody wants to say something to another, if they want to give full vent to their anger, they have the 24-hour rule. It says you have to sit on it for 24 hours and cool down before you can go and share something. And I love what Charlie says to us all the time. He says we need to have 3 gates before we say something to somebody. He says, is it true? If it's true, if it's not true, I don't need to say it. Is it necessary? Is it absolutely needed to be said? And the last gate is it kind? Am I saying it in the kindest way possible? Let's go to our next one. Proverbs 16:32. He who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. The word I want to focus on in this verse is the word better. The general idea of what this verse is saying is that it takes more strength to control your own temper than it does to win a war. And when people cannot control themselves, they try to control other people. That's just the way we're wired. But the word better I feel like the important word here. Because if we don't see that it's better to control ourselves, to let God work out the situation, if we don't see that it's better, then we have a hard time holding it in. And the reason that we often don't trust God, that God's way is better, is because we have our own ideas about how things should go. We don't trust that God is going to work it out for us the way we want it done, right? It's like we try to take the pen out of God's hand. He's writing the story, and we're kind of like going, can I take that pen? Can I write the story out the way I want it to go? I don't trust that you are telling you're going to end the story the way I want it. But if we really just take a deep breath and think about that for a moment, we make a lousy God. The story that he's telling is so much better. It's so much better than the story that we could ever write. So we have to see that God's way is better and that it's worth trusting. Let's look at our last proverb, 15:1. It says, "A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." In the first 3 verses that we looked at, we were kind of talking about the anger that's inside of us. Now we're looking at a different point of view. We're looking at the anger that is in someone else that's coming towards us. So we're dealing with an angry person here. So the first thing I would like to say is I want to look at the phrase "turn away." And I don't want you to think about it like a, fire-breathing dragon, and you're just kind of taking them by the shoulders and say, "Go burn them, not me," right? It's not that kind of turn away. It's more of a diffuse. You're turning it down. You're turning their anger down. And doing that is not an easy task. What's easy is to answer fire with fire. When someone shoots at us, we, without thinking, most often shoot back, right? So how do we turn away the wrath of another? Well, this verse tells us that it's with a soft answer. And I want you to keep in mind here that this is a proverb. It's a wise saying. It's not a promise. This is not a promise that when you come with calmness to a situation that an angry person will calm down. There's no guarantee, but it's definitely your best shot to answer with calmness, to answer with a soft answer. Anger feeds on escalation, but wisdom attempts to diffuse it. So when you're feeling the heat rising, don't pour gasoline on the fire. And another thing I'd like for us to consider when we're talking about how to turn away anger is our body posture. If you think of body posture of an angry person who's coming towards you with full vent, they're angry. Like, what do you imagine their body posture to be like? It's like big, right? And if you answer that with the same body posture, with kind of just a bowed up, big posture, you're not turning away their anger. So one of the things that you might find helpful when someone is coming at you with anger is just to sit down. If you're standing, sit down. Actually physically, try to decrease the amount of space that you're taking up. And the other thing I'd like to offer up is trying to stay in a curious posture. It's so hard to maintain your own emotional stability when somebody is coming at you with anger. But if you can, just remain calm for a second and remind yourself, I bet there is a reason that this person is angry. And they're trying to communicate something to me with this anger. I wonder if it's that they're scared or afraid. I wonder if they're trying to defend someone that they love. Or I wonder if they're threatened. There's a reason they're angry. Try to stay in a curious posture of understanding why. And the last thing I'd like to say is to acknowledge their anger. It helps so much to diffuse anger if you just acknowledge it. I have a good friend who is an Enneagram 9, so she's a peacemaker. Peace is everything to her. But she has in a situation in her life right now where she's really encountering a lot of anger, so much so that it's like disrupting her life. And she's decided to go to counseling about it. And her wise counselor heard her story and heard her situation, and she looked at her and she said, I honor your anger. I honor your anger. Notice she didn't say, you have every right to be angry. You should be angry. Nor did she say, you're good. You should be angry, right? Like, it's good for you to be angry. She didn't say that. She recognized that it is hurting her. It is eating her own life alive. She needs to get rid of her anger. But she said, I honor your anger. And my friend said that she just broke down and wept. And then they moved on to doing the necessary work of dismantling the anger. So, acknowledging an anger. Anger feeds on escalation, but wisdom attempts to diffuse it. And do you realize it's not wrong for us to be angry? It's not wrong for us to be angry. God has anger, and he expresses his anger. You can think of Jesus in the temple driving out the money lenders who were keeping people from, especially the poor, from being able to worship God. In the end, the Bible tells us that God's going to pour out his wrath, right? His righteous anger on all injustice, and he will judge and make everything right. His rage will be just, and it's perfectly right for us to be angry about the things that breaks God's heart. God's anger is always good. It's always just. The question that we have to ask ourselves, is it just anger, or is it just anger? Am I angry that someone has broken God's heart, or am I broken? Am I angry that someone has broken mine? If you don't mind, I would like to take just a minute to share with you some of the things that I have learned in my 50-year journey with anger. You can just take this for what it's worth. It's just kind of my thoughts about it. If you find it helpful, take it. If not, just let it go. But this is my 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. What the heck is bothering me? This is when I find myself getting all worked up. This is what I ask myself. First of all, I ask myself, is this anger outside of me? Is it inside of me? And who is in control? So is it outside of me? You know, when I, probably a decade or so, got really serious about saying, God, this anger is destroying me. It's destroying my relationships. This is not the life you have for me. I need your help with this. One of the things that I had to honestly acknowledge is that when I was bored, anger sure was fun. It was entertaining. And so I easily would catch anger that was outside of me. Somebody else is angry, I'll just jump on your bandwagon of being angry. It's fun. But one of the things that, God helped me work through is understanding, do I actually have a part to play in the redemption of this? And if I don't, I probably need to just let it go. And if the anger is outside of me and it's coming directed at me, I want to remember to diffuse, stay calm, stay curious. But what about if the anger is inside of me? And let's face it, most often my anger is inside of me. The author James Bryan Smith has a definition of anger that I particularly like. He says that anger is a two-step process. First of all, we experience frustration because of unmet expectations. Like, we have them all the time. Somebody makes me late, right? And that's irritating. It's frustrating, right? But he says not until we lay a fear on top of that unmet expectation does our frustration turn to anger. So, like, if somebody has made me late, well, then now I'm going to add on top of that, well, what consequences are going to happen now, when I add that fear of all the things that it's going to mean because that I'm late, then I become angry. And the last thing is, who's in control? And I have to be honest, if I'm asking myself these questions, the likelihood is my anger is in control of me, and I am not in control of my anger. And the only thing that I have ever found that actually works, that actually helps, is coming to God and saying, God, I'm angry. I'm angry again. I'm stuck. I'm stuck in this anger that I'm feeling. The angry train that's running through my mind, I can't make it stop. And I need you. I need your help. And God has always been faithful to help me when I have humbly asked for it. And I would love to say to you that I never find myself 5 minutes later angry all over again, that the train is back running through my mind again. And the thing that I've had to do is to say, God, I'm ashamed that I'm angry again. But I know that you are not ashamed of me asking you for help again, and that you want me to be free of this. And I want to be free of this. And I know that you want to help me, and that you will help me no matter how long it takes. You see, we have a God who runs to help those who ask, and who ask humbly. And the last thing I would say is, don't try to stuff it. Don't try to stuff it. It'll never transform. We need to learn how to lament and how to let that lament create space in us for God to do his work so that we can receive from him the work he does. The world doesn't need more rage. The world needs wisdom. It needs people of wisdom, people who are grounded, calm, and courageous, people who don't deny anger, but who aren't ruled by it. That's the kind of kingdom Jesus is building. Jesus was known for diffusing situations and being slow to anger. Let's let him teach us how. We're going to take a moment just to reflect on some questions that I've got for you. The first question is, what incites you to anger or rage? And how easily do you catch other people's anger? The second question I'd like to ask you to reflect on is, what lies beneath your anger? What unmet expectation and what fear is underneath there? And what is it that the Lord is wanting you to know about the source of your anger? When God introduced himself to Moses in Exodus 34, do you remember that he used anger as one of the metrics by which he wanted to be known? He said, I'm compassionate, I'm merciful. Can you quote it? I'm slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. Jesus showed us the way of what slow to anger looks like. If you think about when Jesus was crucified, he wasn't angry. He, with great mercy and great compassion, went to the cross on our behalf. He wasn't angry at Pilate. He didn't lash out in anger with the people who were crucifying him. He's slow to anger. He's abounding in steadfast love. This morning, we're going to take communion together. And the thing that I want you to think about as you're taking the cup and the bread this morning, so I want you to think about Jesus and his great love for you and his love that outlasts any anger that he has.